Welcome to What's Your Alioup? I'm Danielle Marie, founder of Alioup. So, we're going to talk today about setting clear expectations. When we are looking for employees or staff to meet certain goals and get things accomplished, and sometimes when maybe that's not happening, we have to really first look at ourselves and go, okay, have we even set clear expectations to begin with? We can't hold people accountable to certain metrics or goals if we haven't taken the time to set clear expectations. We've talked a lot about KPIs in this series, but how do you actually do that, and are we doing it? People cannot meet expectations that they don't understand. So one of the biggest mistakes that managers make is assuming that their team knows what success looks like. Sometimes they have an idea of what success looks like, and you have an idea of what success looks like, and it doesn't match. And even through conversation, it can be really confusing, and people can interpret something differently. Hear the exact same comment or the exact same concept and interpret it totally differently, or interpret how to reach that differently. So we absolutely need to sit down and look at those goals in detail and talk through them. A lot of workplace frustration is not necessarily caused by people refusing to do a good job. It is caused by people trying to hit a target that they cannot see, or they don't understand, or they have an idea that's different than actually what the target is. Communicating the company's goals, department goals, and their goals is number one. We need to ensure that they understand the job description, that we're all on the same page. That's why KPIs are important, that you do sit down and talk through it with them and make sure that that everybody understands what is trying to be achieved. Having discussion around their job, knowing their strengths and weaknesses and their dreams and what they want. This is also just really opening up communication and understanding the employee more, so that when they do say something or they do pose a question, you understand where it's coming from, and can also ensure that we're all on the same page. Creating KPIs, making sure that those goals are clear, doing check ins. Sometimes companies we'll do an annual check-in or a biannual check-in. I think that's fine for maybe the bigger picture, actually sitting down and writing everything out and saying together, okay, where are we? But check-ins more frequently are important. And especially if we see that performance is starting to go down or something's not getting achieved, we need to get with that person and really try to understand why. And the only way to do that is constantly communicating and finding things early, because if we sit on something too long, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then we're in a situation where we're under pressure from our supervisor because we're not getting something accomplished, and that can sometimes trickle down. And that's not fair to the employee when then maybe they don't even know that they're doing anything wrong. So, or they're even missing the goal to begin with. If we're not communicating it, they may not even know. And that's through sales is a little bit more straightforward because we have numbers and we know what we're supposed to meet. But in other jobs, that's not necessarily the case. Somebody may legitimately feel like they're doing a good job, but they may be doing a good job for what they believe is the goal of the job, and us as a supervisor might think, "No, that's not the goal, it's over here." But because we haven't communicated with them clearly and consistently, nobody's on the same page, and then that creates a lot of frustration that's not necessary, when just some better communication would have fixed the issue. When there is an issue, it needs to be addressed immediately. We cannot let something just fester and go on and on and on. That just creates frustration in the manager. It creates frustration in the employee sometimes, because even if they don't know that they're doing something that isn't towards the goal that has been set and that they need to meet, or because they think they don't see that they're doing anything wrong, the manager could be getting frustrated. And although this shouldn't happen out of managers, frustration does trickle down out of managers many times. And then that employee might be like, well, what's going on? I don't even understand. So, but if there's been communication, then and dealing with issues really early, then it gets corrected and everybody moves on. It's a more positive work environment. This is one of the number one challenges I see in managers, is they're uncomfortable dealing with adversity. They don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. They think that maybe it'll just fix itself if they wait it out long enough. That's not fair to anybody. If we take on the role of manager and we've agreed to take that responsibility, it is a responsibility, and part of that is course correcting and course correcting quickly and immediately. That is better for the employee, it's better for the work environment. Also, when we don't course correct and we've got a toxic environment, especially if it's a toxic environment and we have someone who's being a real problem on the team, that's not fair to everybody else because all the other team members see what's happening and they see that you're not taking care of it as a manager. And that's not good leadership. It breaks down respect, the way people feel about us as managers. It's just not healthy. It's not good. Sometimes we just have to do really hard things and it doesn't feel comfortable for anybody. Nobody wants to have to correct someone. That is never nobody feels good about that and goes home and goes, "Yes, I got to correct somebody today." But it is part of the job and it's part of keeping a solid, healthy team and it's just necessary. It's got to be done. In that same line of thinking, always give feedback. That includes positive feedback. If somebody's doing a great job and they're the type of person that is super independent and you can do a check-in here and there, but they're always on it, they understand the goal, they know what their job is, they get it done, that person needs attention too. Just make sure not to forget that although, we know that I think the stat is like 80 or 90% of our time is spent with 10% of the staff. The other high 10% that's overperforming or doing a great job, just don't forget them. They need the attention from you too, and so does everybody else that makes up that team. So I think it's important as a manager to also recognize and be reflective of where am I spending my time and making sure I'm spending it wisely. And just in general, be aware of what's going on. You just gotta be aware of what's going on. Look at the dynamics of your team, who's doing well, who's not, how are people interacting with each other? Is there something that is going on that's toxic that may be a problem? I think also building good relationships with team members helps because many times, staff will come in and talk to you about it and tell you what's going on. I've had that happen in, a particular scenario I remember vividly of something not good was going on, and I had someone come and tell me, and shockingly, which I feel like I've usually got the pulse on what's going on most of the time, I had no idea. So, it's important, having good, solid relationships with your team help them to, believe in you, know that they can come to you and tell you things. It's a psychologically safe environment to do that, and because they respect you and they trust you, they want you to know. They feel like you'll take action. If you're someone who doesn't take action and course correct and fix the issues, then that's another reason to do that because if you don't, then people will even more likely not tell you what's going on and then you can't really fully lead your team in a positive way. Ensuring expectations are clear and actionable is necessary for a team to function properly. To avoid frustration, misunderstanding, and broken relationships, communicate effectively to ensure you have a positive and healthy environment for your team.